Session Moth Martina, thank you so much for coming on the Grapple Theory podcast. You're here. It's been a while we've been trying to get you on, and now you're here, finally. It's a delight to have you here. We were speaking a little bit before recording about your last year in wrestling and how you sort of like were putting it second. So talk to me about coming into 2023 now. Is wrestling sort of back up on the priority list, or how are you treating this next 12 months for you wrestling-wise?
Well, it's great to be here. As I was just saying to you beforehand, I took about a year off doing any interviews or any sort of podcasts or anything like that, because generally over the last year I kind of felt like I didn't really know what to say. I didn't like it's been I found it very hard to readjust to wrestling post-COVID, and I think it's a bit harder for me than other people because like pre-COVID I was on such an upward journey. It went from like WWE tryout, Australia, to getting Ring of Honor, to like Mania weeks, and then everything that happened with Ring of Honor and everything. And obviously all through COVID I was very much in the mindset that like, oh, when I come back from wrestling I'm going to Ring of Honor, I'm going to get everything that I had dreamed about for 10 years. And then it was right at the end of the pandemic we got the call saying that we weren't going to be going back. And I mean, I know everyone got devastated around it, like when people lost NXT UK jobs. I know everybody is obviously devastated when they lost a job, but I just think I took it a bit harder because it was the only thing that I focused on during COVID. It was the thing that probably kept my love for wrestling alive, and I think I just felt so disappointed. And then I think last year then, like that was near the end of 2021?
Yes, yeah. The years all blend together with COVID, don't they? You're like, I have no idea.
It's one bit, it's like 3 years of a mess in my mind now. But yeah, so then when that happened, I had all of last year, and I still had my US visa. So that is why I was like, right, I have to just, with the very last of my paycheck, I was like, I'm just going to take a risk and I'm going to go try do AEW. Which I did, and it went really well. I think it was a really good thing to do. I got like the huge debut. I got my name in the door and everything like that. I just think I was kind of hoping something would have come from it more. But again, I don't think it's anything I did. I think I did the absolute best I could have done. I think I presented myself the best way I could have. I just think wheels move so fast in this industry that, like, especially coming from a different country and everything like that, I just don't think their eyes were necessarily looking at me. But that kind of was hard to adjust to last year. But I feel like last year I just I kept going. I just kept wrestling, and to be fair, I've had a very successful year. Like I'm on all the top UK places regularly, which after 8 years of doing the same gimmick is a really huge accomplishment, you know, that nobody's sick of me yet. That's my main thing. I keep worrying every year, like, oh, they'll be sick of me this year, I'll be done. They'll be sick of me this year. But I've been very lucky to kind of have very creative matches and opponents and stuff like that. So I've kept it really fun, and I really enjoyed wrestling last year. But it was just more for the case that I was like, I don't know what I want out of wrestling anymore. So I think I just kind of focused on myself and trying to make sure I make the right decision when I go back into it, and making sure my mind is stronger than anything else when I actually do give this another go, which 2023 I'm thinking like, okay, we're just going to go for broke. If it doesn't work out, at least I try.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's all you can do, isn't it? That's all you can do. And like with the Ring of Honor stuff, I'm just trying to, in terms of sort of like relating it to something, because obviously like the indies over here are brilliant and it's such a thriving scene. But when you have something like ROH and COVID happens and it all falls through in that sense, is it almost like sort of going for like a new job or like a promotion and you don't get it and then you're sort of back to where you were? Is it that kind of feeling?
Exactly. Like, as great as it has been to be around like the UK and to be at the top of it, and like to be regularly used on places like Progress now, I'm always at Eve, and you know, Riot are using me really well now, and all these places, like, and I'm still regular at OTT. But it's just, yeah, it kind of just feels like everyone that was kind of on the same level as me before COVID have gone on to do they've moved on with their lives essentially and doing bigger and better things, where I feel like, as much as I love the UK, and that's part of my like kind of indecision on where I want to go, is because maybe I am just a born independent wrestler. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe I am just not meant for, I am a crowd entertainer, you know what I mean? And I do enjoy that aspect the most. Like, I don't know, that's what I'm thinking. Like, maybe I won't like working for cameras. Maybe I won't like not playing with the crowd. Like, crowd work to me is like 80% of what I do. It's where I get my enjoyment. You know what I mean? I have so much fun doing all that stuff. And I suppose if you go on to TV and etc., you're not exactly able to do all that. But I think I would just like the chance. You know what I mean?
For sure. Like, you want to prove yourself, right? You want to prove, like, I want to prove that I can do this at the top level.
Exactly. But I would always still be, like, my ideal situation genuinely is what I had with Ring of Honor, where I could live in Ireland still, go and travel over to America, do the shows, and still come back here. And, you know, what I had it in my head was, like, I can bring up people from back here. I can take what I learn at Ring of Honor and bring it back to the indies and, like, still do OTT, still do Eve, and almost just try and take everything I've learned to make the scene better. That was my plan, because deep down in my heart, I don't think I ever really want to leave the indies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, have the option to come back. Yeah, have the option to come back if you know, the need strikes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it. Again, like, that flexibility again to, I guess, sort of do what strikes you as you want to do, whether it's, you know, going to America or being here in the UK, is important, isn't it? I think for a lot of people worrying about not having that option if they move on.
Yeah. I think for me, after, like, COVID and just everything, I'm just I used to be very kind of like, oh, I just want to, you know, make it. I just want to get to the top. But now I think I've kind of changed to the point, no, I want what's best for me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I want AEW, because I don't know if that's the place for me mentally. You know what I mean? Or WWE, maybe that's not the place for me mentally, or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's just kind of like, I'm just being very, like, just very safe. I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to do what's going to make, like, Karen happiest and is going to benefit Session Moth the most.
That's the most important thing,
especially if this is, like, if I only have a couple of years left in it, I've gone so long now that I may as well just try and make the last couple of years as fun and great as possible for myself, regardless of what happens, you know, or wherever I end up. Or
for
if
sure.
I don't end up, I'm just going to try and make a positive out of it regardless. You know?
No, absolutely. Do you think that's something that, like, have you considered that? Is that something you've, like, been considering then, like, sort of how long, you know, you're going to keep going for, or that you can keep going for?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, I'm 32 now, which used to be, like, you know, a terrible number in wrestling, but it's definitely not anymore, which is great. Maybe for, like, I don't even know if WWE still have them rules about being over 30 or not. Like, I kind of just don't pay attention to that. But I definitely do think, like, I sometimes think, like, okay, how much longer can I, like, keep this up? And it is kind of hard to find the motivation to keep wrestling when you don't really find yourself with a goal. Like, I find it a lot easier when I'm working towards something, when I know what it is that I want and where I want to get there and how I'm going to get there. For me, at the moment, I feel like I'm just working show to show. Like, my next show is Progress, so I'm going to put everything into that Progress show and make it good. And then the one after that will be OTT. I'll put everything into that and make it good. And then I guess I just have to wait for fate to intervene, and somehow someone will notice me and be like, someone give that poor Irish drinking girl some money.
Well, I think speaking as a fan on this end, I think it's impossible not to notice you. You know what I mean? You come to the ring with, like, such energy, and, like, the character's so unique and so different from anything else that's out there.
Oh, thank you very much. I like to think so, but I guess it's just mine's greater than my own that would see if it would fit on anything bigger than the indies. But, like, as I said, I get so much creative freedom on the indies. It's hard to want to leave that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I had that match I had with Crowley with the Disney match was just so fun and so wild that I remember just thinking, like, nobody else gets to do stuff like this. Like, I'm really, really, really lucky that my character allows me to have so much play in my matches. It's never just wrestle. There can always be that little bit element of something different if I wanted. But if needs be, let's just have a match and make it good, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's important, isn't it? I think that's important. But also, you speak about creativity. At the time of filming, this is going out sort of like late January, but at the time of filming, we're only a few days removed from Eve 100. And that was a show. I'll tell you what, that was an experience.
That was the funnest way to start 2023. We all said it. It was just wild. I did the sober moth thing for January at the start of
I was going to say, what was that like? I mean, we've never seen a sober moth before.
Yeah, I know. It just came to me out of nowhere. I was just like, I didn't even know I was having a match that day. I thought I was just doing the Rumble, but so many people were sick that like Dan was like, oh, I need to do a match, and I was like, oh, lazy, I'm fat now, I'm full of alcohol and beer, I don't want to be doing matches. But yeah, and it just kind of came to me on the spot. I was like, oh yeah, look, I'll just say I'm doing Dry January, we'll make that the match. And I had no idea. I remember right before I came out to my music, I was like, how am I going to do my entrance? Do I dance? Do I not dance? I don't know what to do. And then like right before I went out, I was like, okay, I'll go out sober and it'll just be boring.
That was...
yeah, so it was stuff like that, like getting to do that straight away. And then the Stone Cold, and then dressing as Kaza G, which was just like a little inside joke for me because Dan never would book me as Kaza G. I used to message him back in the day when I was hustling, and obviously I really wanted to get on Eve. And he was like, obviously it was kind of like, I don't know, like it's not really worth a flight just for generic wrestler or whatever. So we always kind of said no. So that was my way of being like to Dan, like, I told you I got booked as Kaza G.
I mean, what was that like, that throwback sort of coming out in like that sort of get up, you know, really turning back the clock?
Fun. I was worried that I was like, no one really is going to get this but me, because to be fair, it was about 10 years ago that I was doing that gimmick. Like, I feel like anyone that's even a fan of me now barely even knows that like I had a gimmick before Session Moth, that it was just, I remember just saying like I was just a generic babyface wrestler. I think I even said that on my entrance. I was like, I'm a generic wrestler. But you know, being that Kaza G always like it helped me get my foundations for wrestling and crowd work and get used to the crowd before I started the character work and everything like that. So it was a really essential time in my wrestling career to get my basics down. And then once I got used to shows and crowd, I was able to like bring personality to it and everything. For
sure.
So it was a really fun throwback to get my gear. My mom was like, "That's crazy. I missed that. Go back to that." She's like, "You look much prettier."
It's a very different look. It's a very different look. But I mean,
I think generally it's just because I have dark hair. That's the biggest.
That's the biggest. Like, whoa, what is happening?
Yeah.
No, I love it. And obviously the fact that you were Kaza G meant there had to be a moth. So what do you think, how did Jetta do as Jetta Moth Martina?
I don't know if you've seen it in the Rumble, but when she's giving me a Bronco Buster, I am absolutely pissing myself laughing. I can't stop laughing at it. I think it's so funny. I watched the whole Rumble back when I got home then as well. Oh my God, she smashed it. She's a better me than me. And she came up to me after and she was like, I had the best time. I just rolled in, grinded on people and rolled out. And I was like, I'm so jealous right now.
You're like, that's my life. That's what I get to do every week.
Yeah, I was like, this means I have to work if I'm not being me. I was just jealous of Jetta. I was like, you're having so much fun taking it easy.
It was brilliant, wasn't it? She was grinding everywhere. I like the fact that even in the multiverse, Jetta and Charlie still had that, attraction with her as Moth, Charlie as Chris Wolf, and then Shawn Michaels as well. Like, you just can't keep them apart.
Yeah. Oh, it was so fun. And to be fair, we all just, threw that together last minute, and I remember thinking when we were in there, I was like, how did this come off as good as it had? Because I was like, we were all just kind of busy with our matches, and then it was like, okay, Rumble, yeah, we'll do this, and it was so easy, and I was like, this came off really well, and we were all petitioning to have Dan do it every month.
Yeah, I think he said he might have to, didn't he? I think he said on Twitter that he might have to now, and I mean, if it does, fingers crossed, that would be golden, wouldn't it? That would be great. Yeah. I mean, it was the sort of thing where, I was saying to a few mates that, you could tell in the build-up, because there were so many issues, you were like, okay, either this show is going to bomb, or it's going to be the greatest thing ever, because it felt almost like a progress, like unboxing, because you just had no idea what was going to happen.
That's the thing, though. When I heard so many people falling off, I was like, I bet you I'm going to miss my flight now, or something's going to go wrong. But I actually think the kind of the SmackDown crew just being there kind of made it better.
It was incredible. It was one of the best shows I've ever been to, and genuinely, I think, what was it, before the first break, Millie Rio happened, and I was saying to mates that's a match of the year contender, and then Nina Casey topped it, and I was like, that's the better match of the year contender, and then the Rumble came up, and I was like, no, that's the match of the year, just that. It was just a wild show.
It's not often that you get you would have expected to be getting better and better and better, especially the Rumble. We all thought oh, this is gonna this is going to fall apart, this is going to be a cluster, this is going to be really bad. And we were all kind of like, who cares if it does? And it ended up going really smoothly.
It was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, Alexis Falcon as Peter Kay was...
So many stunners in one go, and I was so blown up. You see it after, I'm sitting on the ring and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I have no energy left. This is me. And I was like, I can't even pretend anymore. I was like, I am fucked. I haven't been training properly in ages. This is going to kill me.
And, well, sort of, because it wasn't really, it was stone cold, but you, in a sense, you finally got to grind on John Cena as well.
Yeah. Well, I just marked out for John Cena. I was gone. Typical, I'm out of the ring before John Cena comes in, but I got to see his entrance, and that's all we cared.
Yeah, you were excited for that. I've seen the videos of that. You were buzzing for that one.
Yeah. It just worked out that John Cena was right after me. I was like, this is great timing.
So talk to me about, like, what was that like backstage in the whole book? Because it was, like, it felt so bad for Dan, because it was chaos that, like, day or two leading up to the show. Like, so you're there on the day of the show. What is it like backstage? What was the atmosphere like? Or was it, like, tense? Or, like how are we going to pull this off? Or
everything was actually really cool, because you know what? Like, I feel like Dan, bless him, has so many things go wrong every single show. But I think he's so used to it now that he's just really good at like adapting and jumping back. Do you know what I mean? So the atmosphere was no different to any other Eve show. Obviously there was a few missing bodies, so it didn't feel as Evie. But like honestly, everything just came together, and everyone was buzzing after, just being like, everybody was so happy. Like me and Alexis loved our match as well, and I was like, that was a really good like start to the year, a good way to kick off everything, you know what I mean?
I was going to say, because I know as a fan I'm thinking this now, but like as a wrestler, are you like going into the rest of the year being like, how do you top that? Like, how do you top just not necessarily a match in terms of like a classic match, but like a moment like that? Like, how does that get better?
Yeah. Well, the thing, I guess it's just the case where it's like, it's up to the promotions that want to give you them moments. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to create moments out of thin air. You need the promotions to work with you and help you build these moments to make them. Do you know what I mean? But I don't think anybody was expecting that Rumble to end up being as fun for all of us as it was. Do you know what I mean? Like, nobody had any expectations on it. So everyone was kind of like, if it ends up being crap, it's crap, it doesn't matter. And then it ended up being really, really good. So everybody was it's just a nice surprise to have when your expectations are kind of low. And then you end up doing really well and you're delighted with it. Like, I was feeling crap before Eve. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to feel my match is going to be terrible. I was worried that I was going to be out of breath and everything like that. And then when I came back, I was like, that was actually really good. I'm really happy with that. Like, your expectations get blown out of the water, so you're happy with it no matter what. But I guess it's just now for the rest of the year. It's like, who's going to, like, with the Disney match, I'd say, who's going to be the promotion to step up and come up with a really original idea and let me play with it? Or, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like people will give me debt matches, and I'm kind of done with the debt match thing a little bit now. Like, I'm like, okay, I've done it. I'll have them and I'll do them and they'll be fun, but they're not like, I'm not chasing that like moment anymore from it.
Yeah.
Because I've done them.
No, sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm always looking into doing like things that I haven't done before or new things. That's why I love always dressing up as other wrestlers and stuff like that. I always have so much fun doing that.
No.
I just think it's gas.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. I love it. Well, we've like pitched a few ideas on the podcast to other wrestlers that we're hoping comes off. One I could fantasy book right now is I was talking to Tommy Kyle about it a couple of weeks ago. We want to book like fantasy book like a Christmas pantomime show.
Oh, that'd be good.
And like, what about Session Moth as like the Virgin Mary? That would be.
I would do that. Yeah. I'd have to be Virgin Mary in that play. But that's the thing. Let's do it next year. Let's just have a nativity wrestling show.
I said to Tommy, I was like, I can't believe no one's done that. It seems like such a great idea.
Yeah, I did a show last year that was very good in Dublin. It was called Trinity Brawl, and the whole idea of the show was wrestlers having to go through different stages of hell.
Nice.
To get out of it. And that was very fun. I really enjoyed that. And that's where I dressed up as Mother Mary with me, Jesus, and baby Jesus against two guys and what's his name from Game of Thrones? Joffrey from Game of Thrones?
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, the king, yeah.
Yeah, so for me, like, I remember, like, I was just like, all I want to do in this is choke Joffrey, because I was like, if I get to choke out Joffrey from Game of Thrones, that's a live moment. I got to do that. So that for me, I was like, yep, bucket list thing done, there we go.
Love it. Well, as we're on the subject of Eve as well, I think the best running storyline Eve have at the moment is the one I'm hoping you'll answer here, but probably not, is Are we ever going to find out who Millie Mackenzie's father is?
You know what? It's going to take a lot of therapy and a lot of bringing back blackout memories to figure that one out. But we have a few suspicions. But she's so wild that she could be anybody's. You never know. There's definitely not all, like, it's not all me what's wrong with her. It's somebody else's fault too.
I'm not entirely to blame, no.
Yeah, it's not fully my fault, just mainly my fault.
Love it. Well, hopefully we'll find that out at some point. In the meantime, you mentioned progress.
This year, who knows? Next year's Multiverse Rumble, that's when you.
Oh, that's when you find out. That's when the father comes out and you're like,
yeah.
Love it. Fingers crossed, Dan, get that sorted. Get that confirmed now. Like,
spend the next year working on that.
Put the tickets on sale for Jan 2024 now. We'll all buy them. Yeah. That'd be great. Love it. Well, we spoke about Progress as well. Unfortunately, this isn't going out before the next Progress show where you're facing Lana. So we won't sort of allude to that or anything, depending on what might happen. Yeah. But in terms of Progress, you mentioned getting more opportunities there in the last year.
Yeah.
What can you say about like Progress and how it's been run now with the new owners, Lee and Martin, and sort of, I guess, how it's been different going back to Progress and the push you're getting there as well, because they really seem to be behind you.
Yeah. Well, like, okay, so I'm not really one that, like, I don't really go on Twitter anymore. Just for my mental health with my whole break last year, I've been kind of a post and ghost kind of person. So I've actually managed to stay clear of a lot of negativity that has happened. But in that regard, I'm also very clueless about it because I don't really know what's going on. Because I just figure outside influences kind of ruin your own opinions and your own sense of fun. I don't want other people to take away something that I enjoy. But I personally have found the new owners fantastic. I think they have really, really good intentions. I think they have they really want to make Progress something brand new and different. They don't want to be held accountable for things that happened before them. And I think that's completely fair to a degree. Like, they are trying to push that this is a new Progress. And like, from what I've seen, like when we went to Dubai, the crew itself was so solid. It was such a good, feel-good group, and everybody was there to try and like work together to make like a really good, positive thing, just in whatever way that we can. You know, as small of a move as you can make, but you're still making a move.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's how like we would look at it, and I would look at it. And like with Progress, what I really enjoy is that I think they got me to host the Cardiff show, and I think they just really enjoyed it. I think they weren't expecting me to be as kind of confident with it, and so then they did Dubai, and I think they're actually interested in using me a little bit more as a host, which to me is great because that's another creative outlet for me. Like, I get to, you see it yourself at Eve, like I'm very comfortable at Eve, so I don't mind grabbing the mic and just having a chat with the crowd as if they're my friends.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not on edge about what I'm saying. I'm very comfortable, and I'm there to have a laugh with the crowd, like kind of be like, I'm just here with you guys, I'm just going to enjoy this, let's just have a few drinks and enjoy some wrestling. And I really, really enjoy that because sometimes it takes the pressure off having to be super serious wrestler or find your spot in the women's division. Like, I kind of pride myself on the fact that you don't need to just throw me in the women's division. You don't need to throw me in like intergender. You can put me anywhere. And you could just use me to do skits. You could have me as a manager. You could have me as a host. Just let me kind of use the comedy and play with it. So I really like the fact that Progress have been very supportive of that, and they seem to want to include me in their plans. And I feel like the new owners, compared to the old, see a lot more value in me. Then, like, the old guys did use me a few times, but it was always very. I never felt like they had any plans for me, or they had any idea really that they were going anywhere.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel this new Progress, the new Progress regime, they kind of have picked their people, and they're going to run with them, and they're going to get behind them.
Yeah.
Same with 1PW. Like, when 1PW came along and they said they were coming back, they had told me, like, we are taking a few independent people and we are going to push them.
Yeah.
And they were like, we are using the fact that we are bringing in stars to get the people that we think, like the homegrown talent, like Lizzie Evo, like me, like all the lads, like Doris and all them guys, using the stars to get us over.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt like that, didn't it? It felt like that. Like, I think I was like, And I think a few people were a bit worried when they came back in terms of, like, especially the first announcements, like, oh, is it just going to be like a supercard type thing, like 5-star or something like that? But then you saw, like, the indie guys getting booked and the way, like, they were used on the show, and you're like, oh, okay, like, it felt like we're going to use these big stars to elevate the ones we have in the country.
Exactly, and that's even, like, obviously, like, I wrestled Jamie Hayter and I went over her, and I didn't, like, I remember going and being like, oh, I shouldn't, that's not good. Because the one thing, like, Jamie Hayter's, like, my best friend, and she is still so down to earth. You know what I mean? So to her and me, it was her being like, I want to put my friend over. She has no ego. She no ego whatsoever. She was like, I just want to put my friend over. I'm not doing indies. I just want to wrestle you at home, and that's that. And like, and then that's what like 1PW wanted. And I remember kind of being like, oh, I don't know this. I knew Jamie was going to be champion within a couple of months and everything. So, but I don't think like our little world compared to the big world of AEW, like it shouldn't matter. But obviously, people are like, you know, they don't see just like it's Paige, my friend, wanting to have a moment with her best friend to pay homage to everything that we've been together.
Yeah,
do you know
exactly.
what I mean? Because it was meant to be Ruby there anyway, and Paige got put in. So it was just a really nice moment for us, but it also worked in the regard of what 1PW want to do, which is elevate the UK and the home talent to show that we belong with the best of the best.
For sure. But you talk about wanting...
Like post-COVID, there is a group of people now that are getting pushed the way that they deserve everywhere.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. We've said that a few people about like how NXT UK, the positive that came out of NXT UK forever, however controversial it was and however much it divided opinion, was the fact that a lot of people who weren't getting opportunities suddenly got those opportunities because other big names had left.
Yeah, 100%. And even now having a lot of them back on the indies has only benefited the indies. Like, I just feel like now, before NXT UK went down, our crop we had last year was such a good training ground. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's when everyone started to step up. Like Lizzie Evo, like Alexis, like Crowley, Gene Money. You're seeing these people a lot more than you did before COVID.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then all these people had that time of last year, myself included, without any restrictions, to get to set the base and bring the standard up to a really good level. And then when NXT UK went down, it was almost like we had a really solid, good scene for them to come back into and only make it better.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? And I personally find that, like, I'm so happy, like, I've been around so long that everybody that was in NXT UK were all my friends. So I was like the last year, like, oh, my friends are gone. And now they're back. So to me, it's great. I'm like, oh, yeah, I get to hang out with everybody again.
Yeah.
And, but I just think, like, shit things happen in life. Wait a little while and you'll start to see positives about it.
For sure, absolutely. No, perfectly said. And again, you talk about wanting those, again, possible opportunities, like a big promotion. We got to get on the phone to Tony Khan, right? Because if you've beaten Jamie Hayter, surely that puts you in line for a title shot, right?
Yeah, I know. I did beat her, so I'll get her back. That's hopefully, like, I'm hoping to, I'm hopeful that next year, or in this year, I feel like the last couple of months I went a bit quiet on social media, wasn't posting as much, again, taking care of myself. But now I'm kind of like, okay, one more year, let's just give it a bash. Like, AEW is going to be coming to the UK, going to try get seen there. If Impact come, going to try get seen there. God only knows what NXT Europe, but I mean, I've been saying no to that so long, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is, like, at the moment, especially on the day we're recording this, there's no point talking anything WWE related at the minute.
I think that kind of was like, okay, no.
Who knows what it's going to be in like a few months, right? It's going to be
like things with WWE they change. They're more toxic and on and off than me and my last boyfriend. It's too much. Like, I think I just want I want a little bit of peace and solid and. Just a little bit of, what's the word?
Like stability.
Stability and security, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And not find out you have to work for Saudi.
No, Vince McMahon's wild ride, am I right? It's like, it's just always changing. That's crazy. But who knows what
it's too much to keep up with.
Exactly. Like last week, it was everyone was like, oh, Money in the Bank, it's coming to the UK, amazing. And then like 3 days later, it's like,
Yeah. Oh god, like that's the thing. It's like you get trapped or something.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But hopefully those opportunities will come in the next few months for you, because that'd be awesome to see. We'd love to see that, and you deserve that.
Yeah.
So
hopefully.
But talking about American promotions coming over here, we're obviously talking before ICW No Holds Barred come over, and you'll be part of that show as well, facing Casey Kirk, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be a match.
This is what I was saying. Like, they had been like hounding me for months, and just again because I was so kind of switched off wrestling, I was like, I'm not even looking at it until December. But they were very adamant about wanting me, and I remember I was kind of like, oh, I really don't think I'm going to want to do death matches next year. Like, it's just like, is that getting me where I want to go? Like, what's the benefit of it? Why am I doing it, kind of thing. But then because it was like they were so kind of like, yeah, we really want you, we'll make it work. And then I saw who I was wrestling, and I was just like, no, yeah. Like I know if I end up doing it, I'll enjoy it. But I do think I'm just a little bit nervous of the death matches, because I'm like I got away very lucky so far, and I just don't want to push.
No.
I'm not going to play with it too much. So I'll do the odd death match just because if this is my last year, I'm going to want to bleed a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And if it is, and if you got to have a death match, I mean, Casey Kirk, what an opponent to have on with, right? Like, because she's phenomenal.
I'm not going to leave that feeling. I might be hurt, but I'm not going to feel bad about it.
No, you're not going to be upset, but you will be a little battered, I imagine.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that. I mean, if you're gonna go, you're gonna go hard.
Yeah, exactly. Well, especially with Casey in the ring as well and Session Moth, like those two in the death match, it's gonna be what I expect it to be wild.
Yeah, well, now I have to. Now I'm gonna have me worried. I'm gonna have to make sure I bring it.
No, you will. You always do. And I'm sure you will again. But again, like I suppose things like that, and like TNT as well. Like you've talked about death matches there as well, and like TNT have been ones that have been, not just in the last year, but before that as well, really keen on you as well. And it must be.
Oh, they were one of the first places in the UK to ever book me as Session Moth, and. Yeah, no, TNT has always been great. I've always been a regular and a solid. I haven't been there the last couple of months because it was just like to Jay. I was just like, I've been there so regularly and I've been there all the time. I was like, there's no harm in just taking a bit of break for a while, but I'll definitely be back next year to do a lot more with them because Jay is the best. And TNT, I feel like it has that, I feel like it's the missing link of that really gritty, like where you're going to see the death matches, where you're going to see the stuff that's that little bit more over 18s, that little bit more grimy and a little bit more gritty. You can go a bit harder. They always do their intergender wrestling and all that kind of stuff. So, like TNT is always like a big UK home for me. Like since I guess like Fight Club going before COVID, TNT is now like my new, that place where I get to be like, I'm gonna do a death match, or I'm going to go do this, or I'm going to do that, I'll wrestle this, I'll do that. I always have a lot of fun when I go to TNT.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and it shows that. And as someone who's like been there for so long, I want to get your opinion on this, because it seems like, although TNT has been great since it started, it seemed like it was always that underground promotion. And then this last 12 months, that's when it seemed like it's come into the mainstream as like, okay, this isn't just an underground promotion, like this is a top promotion in the country.
Yeah, when they did the GCW weekend, I think that was a really going show that they very much are the GCW of the UK.
Yeah.
Like, if you like the GCW style and you want that kind of gritty, independent wrestling, TNT is the place you should go. There, you know what I mean? Like, you'd never know what you're going to get. And I love that aspect of wrestling in general. Because I know if I was just a fan going to shows, I don't want to see something that I don't want to see something that I can predict. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the point of spending your money and spending your evening, your valuable time going to something that you want to be entertained? I feel like the live crowd needs so much more attention. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're not NXT UK. We're not doing this for TV. We're not doing this for cameras. Yes, we are doing it for, like, the on-demand services and for people at home. But, like, the way I see it is, like, I want to entertain the people that paid their money that night to be there. That's why I tell jokes on my ring and I try to do my entrance and stuff like that. I really like the independence of making the live crowd feel like they've enjoyed their night.
Yeah.
Like, that's what most people always say with Session Moth. Like, if you're not into wrestling, say, like, a lad is into wrestling but his girlfriend isn't, bring the girlfriend to the show. She'll always remember me as like, who was the girl that was drinking cans and going like being mad? You know what I mean? Because it was entertaining and it wasn't wrestling.
Yeah, yeah. I think
they don't care about a really good wrist lock.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They
exactly.
Want to be entertained.
Exactly. There's a few, like, especially I sort of go with like, because my partner was like that. My partner wasn't into wrestling until I started taking her to shows, and so like for her and for me, I feel like yourself and like Gene Money and Crowley and like Commander Stephanie Sterling, those are the people that like, if you don't like wrestling, you'll like it because these are the characters. Like, it doesn't matter about like what they're doing.
Yeah, it's like it's like you're not going to the show to see. I feel like if every match on a show is just like, okay, lock up, moves. A casual fan would just be like, yeah, the flips were really cool, but they don't understand the emotion of wrestling. They don't understand the storytelling. They just see flips and moves, and that's fine. But that's understandable. If you're not into wrestling, you don't have to be.
Yeah.
But like, that's what I love about wrestling, is that there should be something for everyone.
Yeah.
There should be a comedy match. You know, there should be a women's match, at least one, at the very least one. There should be a comedy match. There should be another type of match. Do you know what I mean? There should be the then there should be the flippy match, and then there should be the story match. You know what I mean? But that's just my grandniece of wrestling over the years, you know, how my fantasy booking.
But it does seem like it's becoming more that, like places like things like Riot Cabaret as well, like and Resurgence and places, they make it a show. It's not just, 5-6 straight matches. It's something a little different. Mix it up a bit.
Exactly, because I just think, like, if you're going to run monthly shows as well, like, the moves can only get you so far.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why I think at Progress, like, Spike is fantastic at telling stories. Do you know what I mean? Like, his wrestling is fantastic, and he's doing such a great champ as a storyteller, and that's why I think it lasts so much longer than just someone that can do moves.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's got that, like, longevity to it. Like, you can just make you, like,
you need that personal connection as well. You need to connect with the crowd for them to even care about the moves that you're doing.
Exactly. And that sort of goes back to what you said, like, before we recorded about, like, you were surprised that you've lasted this long as Session Moth and people haven't got bored, but, like, you always bring something different, don't you? Like, and it's a character that you can mix up a bit and, like, take in different places.
That's my saving grace with Session Moth, is that it is the case where I can, like, dress up as somebody else. I can dress up as my tag partner. They can dress as me, or I can do X, Y, Z of a match because it's what my character has allowed me to do. But I do still feel that way though, because I'm kind of like 8 years, party, drink, and people just haven't gotten on board about it. I've gotten bored. I'm like, okay, here we go. I just have to get like dance again. But then, like, I suppose, like, over the years, I've definitely added to my wrestling and improved in my wrestling, and improved in my storytelling and all that kind of stuff. So I've only just kind of incorporated everything in the hopes of not getting stale, because I don't want to give this up. I love this.
Yeah.
You know, I want to stay relevant. I want to stay on top of the scene. If I'm going to stay in the UK forever, I just want to stay. You know what I mean? But you have to work. You can't just hope that everyone's going to just keep loving you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to. If I was still doing the exact same match that I was doing like 5 or 6 years ago, I wouldn't still be on the UK scene.
No, exactly. And that's credit to you, though, in how you've been able to do that. And, like, that's really impressive.
It's just it's just because I genuinely think the reason I do it is just because I love the people and hanging around the people and just being at the shows and everything. So I'm like, I got to work my ass off if I want to stay in this scene, because I love everyone here. So.
Well, I mean, in not my finest segue ever, you mentioned sort of like a tag partner there, and that brings me on to something I wanted to talk to you about that maybe a lot of people don't know about, because it was a brilliant thing to do with the promotion I'm representing here, Riptide. I want to talk about your greatest tag team partner ever, Dave Benson Phillips.
I was literally thinking, I was like, who did I tag with in Riptide? I was trying to remember, like, I've had so many matches there, and I was like, my greatest tag partner, I'm a tag partner.
Yeah.
So I constantly have a new tag
Always
partner.
switching.
Every single place I go, I'm in someone new tag partner. But Dave Bensonville, that's a throwback.
That was a throwback, right? I was like, because I used to live in Brighton. I live in London now, but I used to live in Brighton. And so I was at every Riptide show. And
they were great.
They were great. There was everyone that we've had on who used to get booked to Riptide has spoken about so highly of them and how great they were and how much we all want them back. Like, touch wood, hopefully.
I miss Brighton so much. I used to love, like, going down, chilling out on the beach. The drinks after at the beach were always great. I absolutely, like, Riptide essentially is kind of what Cabaret is doing now.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah. But I really do miss Riptide. They were always fantastic.
I mean, Josh, Tom, come out. One off Super Show, please.
I've got got so much more to do in Brighton.
We need one more tag match, right, with Dave and Session Moth.
Match with my greatest ever tag partner.
So how did all that come about? Like, did they contact you? That's what I was curious to know. Is like, did they contact you? And be like, oh, like we need someone to tag with Dave Benson Phillips. We think you'd be the perfect person, or like how did it all come about? Because
from what I remember, it probably would have been that simple. Like it was a weekender. I'm fairly sure that.
Yeah, it was the championship weekender over Pride weekend, wasn't it? I think.
Pride weekend, yeah, I'll always remember because it was so much fun.
That's the time to be in Brighton. I tell you what, to be wrestling in Brighton over Pride weekend is.
And I remember it was boiling.
Yeah.
It was boiling hot, and the streets were wild. It was just like a parade the whole weekend. It was crazy. But I'm fairly sure it was that simple. Like, Josh must have just been like, oh, I have Dave Benson Phillips, I have Anti-Fun Police, and I've got Session Moth. There's the match. And to be fair, would you actually have booked anything else? Like, it's a perfect match for him.
Yeah, and I can't imagine there's many chances you'll be able to throw your opponents into a vat of dunk, right? Right? Just.
I'm from Ireland, so I've never seen the show, or he was
I see.
Childhood thing for me, because I never had the show or anything like that. But everybody else from the UK was kind of like, oh my god. But I kind of equate it to, like, if it's someone that was on The Den, for me as a kid, it would be like, oh my god, wow, you know what I mean? But he was absolutely lovely. And from what I remember, he smashed it.
He did. He was so good. Like, he was crazy. Everyone was like, how is Dave Benson Phillips this good as a wrestler?
I think we just took him in the ring before and like, right, just remember this, try do this.
That was hilarious. No, that was brilliant. Riptide were great, and we'd love to see them back. But like that stuck in my mind. I was like,
I mean, any place that I had as much fun at as I did at Riptide, I would welcome them back instantly. I'd love to go back.
I mean, like, as soon as you said you'd come on, I was like, okay, like, above Eve, above Progress, above anything, I was like, okay, I've got to ask about Dave Benson Phillips, because that was still, like, maybe the multiverse has topped it, but that was still, like, my favourite Moth moment, if I'm honest.
Really?
I just loved that tag match so much, because it was the craziest.
Honestly, my memory is so bad, I can barely remember it. I'd love to find it now and watch it back.
We'll see if we can see it. See if it's on their YouTube or something. We'll see if we can find it.
Yeah, I definitely should.
Love it. Well, we've got a few like fun features to sort of end on here. And now we're going to get to know a bit more about you, and you're going to tell us a bit more about the locker room as well. You're going to give us a bit of an insight behind the curtain. So we got a feature first off. Yeah, well, this sort of thing could get you in a little bit of trouble, if I'm honest, like a little bit of shoot trouble, you know. So we'll see, because this first feature is called.
I welcome trouble.
Well, this first feature is called Dishing the Dirt. And as implied, you're gonna dish the dirt on a few of your locker room mates. Now I know the country's big, you wrestle with a lot of people, but we've already had Nina Samuels dish the dirt on the Eve locker room, and Tate Mayfair's dish the dirt on the Progress locker room. So we're gonna have you. Did anyone say something about you? You might have been mentioned by Nina as the comedian of the locker room in the Eve locker room.
Yeah.
And I think a couple more maybe, but like if I'm honest, my memory's kind of bad as well, because it's again just the Christmas hangover. I'm like, what has been talked about? But for you then, we're going to talk about the TNT locker room. Because we've already had those two talked about. So I'm going to give you the questions, and you let me know which member of the TNT locker room applies to each one.
See, it's hard. I'm struggling now to think of like the TNT locker room, because it's just there's so many different people. I'm like, are you a part of that show or that? Like, I'll try my best.
Or if it's easier for you, it can just be anyone random that pops into your head. That doesn't really matter as much. But so the first one is who's always the one that's running late?
Who's always running late? There is always someone that gets to the show at like doors. Millie's quite late. She always shows up quite late. I always find her to be a little bit of a, you know, if you have a match with someone, you're getting nervous about it. Late. I don't know. I feel like everyone's late because of trains.
Yeah, so unreliable, right? So unreliable.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm always getting late on flights, but I'm like, yeah, okay, blame the train again.
Well, the next one is then who has these are like the shoot ones here. This is where we're going behind the scenes on personalities. Yeah. Who has the worst music taste?
Me, probably.
Yeah.
I would say.
What do you like? What are you into?
Like, I'm such a different person to like how Session Moth Martina is. I listen to depressing rap. Like, I listen to like the most depressing music you could ever listen to in your life. But so anyone Millie has very straight. Speaking of, I don't know why she's on my mind now, but she listens like you'd never expect her. She listens to like hard drum and bass and like Slipknot and stuff, and I'm like, no wonder you're so damaged, honey.
Don't tell me, man. I love Slipknot. Slipknot are great. I got a new respect for Millie there.
Too, but I'm like, oh my god, if you like, it's just, you're too small and like. You're blonde and pretty and young. You're not meant to be listening to Slipknot.
No, if I'm honest, her dance moves in the ring as well don't imply that sort of music taste either, do they?
Yeah, I know. I remember just kind of being like, she was like, they're rocking out to it one time, and I was like, that just doesn't suit you.
It doesn't work. Love it. The next one is, it's the one that Nina, I think, answered about you, is who's the comedian of the locker room?
Me.
Obviously. Of course it is.
When it comes to, if we're going to go with TNT, I would say I'd probably go with Gene then.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, me and Gene would always have a good little bit of banter, good bit of jokes at a TNT show. Jenny himself is a bit of a comedian himself too. Like, always tells jokes when you look for money that he has none, so.
Love it.
That always gets me giggling.
Nice, yeah. Oh, he's such a good guy, isn't he? So funny.
Yeah,
just so brilliant.
I love Jay, he's the best.
And the next one is, who takes the longest to get ready? Let's say you like prep for a match. You're in the locker room now, but like, who takes the longest to get ready for their match?
Emerson Jane.
Yeah?
I always just find, like, you know, because she never goes easy. Like, it's never an easy match when it comes to Emerson. Like, you know that you're going to be doing falsy upon falsy upon falsy upon falsy, run. You're not having an easy night when you're with her. And then she has to do her hair, she has to do her makeup, and she gets her makeup, like, professionally done, and I just don't have the patience to get my makeup done. I'm like, let's go.
That's it.
And she's like, oh wait, I just want to do my makeup, and she takes forever. Yeah.
Love it. Emerson, you got to speed it up. You're great in the ring, but you got to speed it up.
Yeah. Take that cardio to your face.
Yeah. The next one is, who brings, like, the best, like, lunch or snacks? Like, not necessarily to share, but, like, who brings food in that you're like, oh, I wish I had that, like... Nina bakes for the Eve locker room every time, and they are like little slices of heaven. I don't know, everyone just kept saying the word the other day, moist. Yeah. But that is the only word you could use to describe Nina Samuel's baking. It is unreal. Oh, we've had her on speaking about it. We had like Charlie and Jet speaking about it, and Alexis Falcon and Alex Winder. Like, everyone has mentioned this. Like, it's legendary. She should just do that. She should get paid extra and just do catering. I suggested she should sell them at merch. Like, she should bring extra and put them out on her merch table. She'd make them in. They're so good. They're so good. Love it. Big up Nina. Huge fan of hers. And clearly her baked goods are incredible as well. We need to try them at some point. But the next one, again, this is another one that will get you a sort of little bit of shoot heat. Because we're not talking in the ring now. We're talking away from them. We're talking once you've left the show. Who has the worst dress sense? That is a good one. So this is where I get bitchy, is it? we got to get you in a bit of trouble, right? See, a lot of the people that are coming to my head are people from Ireland that you mightn't necessarily know, because I'm like, oh my god, they dress terrible. I hate them. They wear chains, it's horrible. Oh, you got to know, yeah, that's fine. I would say Tate on that one, because you mentioned him earlier and he's in my head. I'm not a fan of the gold chain, and like when we were in Dubai, he's there wanting to go out dancing with his shirt down to here, and I'm like, you just look like the sleaziest guy you could, you're trying to look sleazy. Bless him though, what a great guy. Wait, no, you can't say that in real life though. In shoot, he's a terrible dress sense. He didn't like that when I implied it when he was on the show though. He didn't enjoy me saying that. Well, now you just say Session Moth Martina just backed up what you were. Yeah, exactly. Be like, I was right. There you go. Yeah. If Session Moth says it, then it's gospel. Then it's right. That's basically fact, right? At that point. Yeah. Love it. The next one is in the ring, but it's nicer. It's out of the locker room. Whose ring gear would you wear? Whose ring gear are you like? Oh, you know what? I'd look banging in that. See, all the girls are in such good shape, and like I loved Lizzie Evo's latest gear at the Progress show in Dubai. It was stunning on her, and I was like, it was Empress Pro gear. I was like, I'm getting my gear from her now because it was so nice. The only thing is, if I look like Lizzie, I would definitely be wearing it all the time. No, I get that. That's her ring gear is always great, but like you say, that would be better. Alexis is like ring gear, her like Disney look that she's going with now. Yeah. Cool. Great choices. The next one seems a bit arbitrary to ask in a wrestling locker room, but who's the most competitive?
Definitely not me. I'm not a competitive person at all. I'm kind of like, if I'm the type of person that, like, if you start saying it's a competition, I'll be like, no, you win. I'm going to lose just because I don't want to have to. Now that you're putting the pressure on me, I am open to losing. If you just left it be, I probably would have won. But now that it's a competition, I'm done. I'd say someone like Dan Maloney, probably. You know what I mean? I imagine, like, if we were all playing some sort of game, that he wouldn't stop until he gets it.
Yeah, no, I get that. The next one is, who would throw the best party, do you think? Apart from Moth, because we know that a Moth party would be absolutely killer.
I mean, no one would throw one like me, but who would know how to throw a really good party?
Yeah, if basically everyone in the locker room had invited you to a party on the same night, whose would you go to thinking, like, that'll be the best one?
I'd probably just end up having to throw my own.
Yeah.
Everybody would end up coming to my party. That would literally, I don't think anyone would throw a party like I would.
Oh, no. Moth is obviously going to throw the best party, right?
Yeah, so I don't think there's any seconds to me. Millie. We'll let Millie have that one.
Yeah, because you've raised her right. You've raised her the right way.
Yeah, I did. I raised her like one of my own, so it would be most like a party that I would throw.
Love it. And then the final one is, who would you trust the most to have your back in the zombie apocalypse?
So who's going to be like a little... Yeah. Who's going to be a sergeant?
Yeah, who's going to be... Yeah.
Casey Owens would take the charge on that one.
Mate, yeah, she'd fly into it all guns blazing, right?
Whipping out some sort of mad sword that she probably has and just being like, get behind me!
That's a great shout, actually, yeah, Mother of Chaos, of course she would, right?
Yeah, exactly. She'd be in her element there. I feel like she's like one of... Or Vicky Haskins, she's someone that's been prepping for a zombie apocalypse for years, I imagine.
Someone who can bring their own weapon with them. Always handy.
Yeah.
Always handy.
She'll have the bat handy. I'll just hide behind her.
Yeah, just please, you go first.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, that brings that segment to an end. But I wanted to ask you, actually, because it just popped into my head something you mentioned earlier about sort of with ROH, the fact that you live in Ireland and stuff. Because a lot of Irish wrestlers have sort of made the journey over here to live over here because of the fact they're wrestling over here week in, week out. How and why was it so important for you to be able to stay in Ireland? Because a lot of your wrestling is over here on sort of mainland UK.
Yeah. You know what it was for me? It was just the case that I was just like, while I'm still getting booked with flights, I didn't really want to upend my entire life. Like, I have a lot of roots with my my Irish wrestling school here, and the Irish wrestling locker room and community is so close. Because it's so small, we're a lot closer than the UK. Because the UK is very spread out and everyone's on different shows. I'm really close to my UK friends, but it's only because I would see them regularly at different spots. Whereas in Ireland, we're all together, it's all small, we all train together, we all do the shows together, we're all on the road together and stuff like that. So I think that's just always been a case, is while I'm still very heavily involved in OTT and stuff, I just didn't want to fully leave it.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
No, I get that.
I'd rather get the flight there and back and just have my roots. I love where I live as well. I'm a big walker. I'm really into nature and stuff like that. And Ireland's just so green. So I think I need that in, the UK is so fast paced and everything's so loud and busy and everything like that. And it's great at the weekends, but I need the weeks to decompress.
Yeah, no, I get that. And credit to you for that, because I think a lot of people would sort of take that step and move abroad, but it's nice to be where you're comfortable, right, with your community and where you feel at home, and that's important as well.
Exactly. It's just this is my home, and it's at this point, if I was going to move to England, I would have done it already, you know?
Yeah, no, sure. Well, our next sort of question is our segment we call What's in a Name, where I ask sort of about the background of your wrestling name. I know you've spoken in the past about the sort of the origins of Moth and how it came about and stuff. But what I want to ask is was there a moment, a match or a show, where you knew Moth was the right path to have gone down in that idea? Was there a moment where you thought, yeah, this has worked, I've made this work?
I guess probably once I got to Japan.
Yeah?
Yeah, because obviously when I started doing it OTT, I think I started doing it in 2014. And it hit off straight away. 15 was really when it really hit off. And the Irish fans loved it, and it was nothing like they've ever seen, and it was really building momentum in Ireland. And then my 16, 17, it started to take off in the UK. And I think there was a point at an OTT show, we had a Fringe festival. It was before OTT started getting like really big. But we did the Session Moth thing, and it was not wrestling fans. They were all like there for the Fringe festival. But after the show, when all the crowd had left, they were still outside the tent and they were all chanting Session Moth. And none of them were wrestling fans, but they were chanting Session Moth outside the thing.
Love that.
And that, for me, was really surreal. Because it was like, I didn't expect to get that. And then after that is when OTT started getting a lot of not wrestling fans that were just there for the arts and the theatre of it. And I think because, again, my character and the people I was wrestling with at the time, I was wrestling with the lads from the flats, was very character-based. And it really got people in the door to see more of the storylines and stuff like that. And I remember just because they were just Irish, and they just obviously found the Session Moth aspect so funny, that's when I was like, okay, this was a good way to go. But I never thought it would translate to England.
I was going to say, it's a very, like, Irish concept. Like, was that a concern, like, taking it abroad?
It was at the start, and a lot of people said to me in my first few weeks of doing Session Moth, like, the gimmick idea is great, but it's not going to last. I actually have, like, screenshots from this guy, this Twitter account that just wanted to be negative. I was like, oh, yeah, it was really good, but it won't last very long. And it's like, here I am 8 years later. You know what I mean? It's all what you'll make of it. It's, like, if someone tells you that it's not going to work and you believe it, it's not going to work.
Yeah, no, for sure, I get that. And that's cool. That's really cool, though, to, like, have that moment, I guess, where you're like, okay, like, the decision I made paid off because this has translated. I have made it work.
And I think at this point now, just from going so far, I'm getting, signed to Ring of Honor, wrestling in Japan, wrestling all over the world. I'm like, wow, that was the right way to go. Like, I'm glad I got rid of that Kazuji. I'm glad Session Moth killed Kazuji.
For sure. Well, we can't have the Session Moth on here without talking about beer. And see, I'm not a big drinker myself, generally. So the only thing I'll drink is, like, rum. But I won't drink it with it. Like, I'll only drink it with Coke. I only have rum and Coke. Because
I like rum and Coke.
I don't really like anything else, generally, like the taste of anything else. But if I was to get into beer, what like 3 or 5 beers is Session Moth going to suggest, like, that are, like, the best beers? Like, you're not just talking to me now, but you're talking to everyone here. What are Session Moth's top 5 drinks?
Okay, well, my personal favourite now, and I know it's bad because I discovered it during Corona, is Corona. I love a Corona. It's safe. You know what you're getting. A good bottle with a lime. It just tastes great. Second is Asahi.
Nice.
Can't beat it. Best beer in the world. You can get it everywhere now, which is great. But I have introduced Asahi to so many people that they'd be like, oh, I've never tried that. I'm like, this will knock your socks off. To me, it's just a really tasty beer. I really like it. Now, I get a lot of heat for this. A lot of people aren't a fan of the fact that I'm a fan of light beers.
Right.
But I'm sorry. I'm trying to stay in shape. I got a lot of people fancying me, so I can't be drinking the heavy stuff all the time. So I've become a fan of Rockshore Light, but they are a little bit light.
Too light.
They're a little bit light. So just 1 or 2 usually, when you're not really in the mood for drinking, you just want to have a beer for, like, just the sake of having a beer, I'd go with a Rockshore Light. But I'd always just go Corona first. Then after that, I really like, I'm a big fan of an IPA. I do like different kind of fancy ones. I am not good at I do not like ones that are over 6%.
Yeah.
They're just too strong, they're too messy, and you can't drink. I will be able to drink a lot of beer, so it needs to be lower things. I put them away. Because if I'll end up smashing 4 and not even realise it, and then you're gone. And I'm old now, I'm getting hangovers, so I have to be very careful about how I drink. But I do love, like, an IPA as a little treat. And a new one that I have to add to my list, my final one, will be a Guinness.
Really?
I've become a big fan of Guinness over the last
I thought
year.
if you were Irish, it was just law that you had to like Guinness.
No, because all my friends, whenever we're out in the pub, all the lads from Ireland, they all get a Guinness. So sometimes I'm just like, screw it, I'll have a Guinness too. And it's become, we all had Guinness in Dubai. Big Damo's also Irish, so we were showing everyone how to split the G and everything like that. So I put Guinness down now. I love a good Guinness lunchtime is a favourite of mine.
It's grown on you.
It's grown on me.
Yeah.
And I'm glad, because now that when I go international, I'm like, I'll have a Guinness so everyone knows I'm Irish.
Yeah, exactly. Be like, oh, okay. Yeah, of course you will, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I love it. Some great choices there. Maybe I'll give some. I've had Corona. I don't mind Corona, but generally the taste of beer I don't like fully like. But like I don't mind Corona.
It's the nicest. It's the beer that just goes down the easiest. It's almost like a soft drink almost.
Yeah, I think again, like as someone who doesn't like beer, I think like the liminess of it as well helps. Like, you know what I mean? You're not just tasting beer.
Desperado as well. I actually think Desperados are a little bit sicky because of the tequila, but like a Desperados is a good one if you're not a fan of beer.
Like a different flavour profile. Yeah. I'll have to give a few of those a go. No, thank you. I mean, it's good to get the Session Moth's top 5 there. Very important. But we're going to end with one final feature, which is called Anatomy of a Pro Wrestler. And this isn't about Moth anymore. This is about Karen. This is a shoot. This is about you. But it's more.
It's about Karen.
It's essentially like what makes you kind of thing.
That's a heavy question. That's a loaded question.
Well, there's a few mini questions that aren't as loaded. They'll be all right. But like, you let me know, and you just let me know what comes to mind. So the first one is my favourite pre-show meal.
Pre-show meal. Do you know you can't get them in Ireland, but you know the little chicken snack Raider things?
Oh yeah.
That you can get in Tesco. I always every show day I get them, and I get the little sushi packs that you can get.
Nice.
That's my go-to, just because I'm usually too nervous on a show day to actually eat something properly. So I just kind of get them into me when I'm hungry.
Yeah, well, you don't want anything heavy either, do you? That's the thing. You don't want to be sitting heavy trying to go into a match.
But you need your energy. Like, you don't eat your wrecked and it'll show.
Yeah, no, sushi and chicken, like that perfect, like, sort of carby protein kick, give you a little... Yeah.
I feel like I'm being good, and then inevitably when I eat McDonald's later that night, I don't feel that bad then.
Well, that's the thing, because the next one is my favourite post-pinfall pig-out.
God, I love a McDonald's. It's usually always McDonald's though, because
it's the only thing open.
Like, it's all that's in the service stations, really. But if I'm lucky, if I'm at home, like say I have a show in Ireland and it's finished at 7, you get home at like 8, I'll get an Indian.
Nice. What do you get?
I am a korma naan type of Peshwari naan.
Moth, that's so plain. That's not Moth at all.
I actually am a very plain eater. I don't like spices that much, so.
Well, the Peshwari naan's good. I'll back that. Not the korma, though.
Yeah.
That's,
or butter chicken.
I like a butter chicken. Butter chicken's good. Yeah, that saves you, I think. I'll allow that.
Okay, good.
Got away with it. The next one is the song that gets me the most hyped.
That's a good one. Again, it's probably something just really depressing. I love listening to a bit of Juice WRLD or St. John, and I'm like, okay, I've got my depression out of the way. I'm ready to take the day. Now, I'd say it would probably be WWE songs.
Yeah.
I think WWE song always works. Personal favourite of mine is Sasha Banks.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
That's my WrestleMania song, my visionary, I'm going to wrestle Sasha Banks one day.
I'm going to make it. What about her new one in New Japan? There's been a lot of controversy about that one. A lot of people...
I actually haven't heard it.
Have you not? Oh, you need to listen to it and let us know, because it's a lot of people it's like Marmite. It's the Marmite, I think, of theme musics at the minute. Like, a lot of people are saying it's garbage, but a lot are being like, no, it's really good.
Yeah, I'll have to have a listen.
The next one is the movie that I'd show the locker room. So I always say, it doesn't necessarily have to be your favourite movie, but, the movie that you think everyone should see at some point.
I actually don't. That's a very good question. I have no idea. I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Okay.
That's going to take up the rest of my day now.
Just thinking of that. Well, that's fine. Give you something to do, doesn't it? We like to leave you thinking here at the Grapple Theory podcast.
Yeah, I was like, God, I didn't agree to this. You didn't tell me about any mental exercises.
Well, there's got to be a bit of throwback in here. And the next one is a big old throwback, because it's my first job.
Oh, okay. My first job, my very first job was working in a cloakroom of a bar.
Nice. I think that's a classic, first job, isn't it? Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very, I remember I worked in a convent, just cleaning it, just like a transition year job where you just clean it for 2 weeks or something.
That's an interesting one, especially given the character that you portray in the ring.
Yeah, but this is when I was probably 16 or something. Yeah. And then for years before I went full-time at wrestling, I was a receptionist working at a Courier's and then an MS Care Centre.
And I think wrestler is by far the best profession out of all of those.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Love it.
I left that to be a wrestler.
Love it. Well, the next one is the only question here that gets a little deep, because it's my greatest fear.
Ooh. Being irrelevant. No. Well, I guess aside from like all your general fears of life, my biggest fear, I suppose, if you put it in wrestling, will be just to not. I am very scared of making like a wrong move in wrestling, or something, or doing something that inevitably I end up regretting, or something like that. Is a big fear. Again, about I would hate to make a move towards something and have it be something that I end up hating. You know what I mean? So I just want to make sure that everything. My biggest fear is ending up in regret. Sure.
No, I get that. And like we've spoken about that a bit, so going off on a bit of a tangent, if you don't mind me asking about, because we've spoken a lot about that and like your goals and like maybe not taking them because you're like, oh, what if I miss the Indies, or what if I don't suit this place and that place? Is that sort of tough to come to terms with in terms of like perhaps having regrets because of the thought of like, you know, as in, you know the saying like, never meet your heroes, like in terms of that, is it like, I don't, like, maybe I shouldn't, because if it's not what I thought it would be, that would ruin its perceptions for me?
Yeah, kind of, like, yeah, I suppose so, but it's more just a case of, like, I think it's just been something that's been on my mind ever since I've had the choice between, like, I had the choice between Ring of Honor and NXT UK at the very same time. And then it's always just, throughout COVID, obviously no one knew what was going to happen. But I always was thinking, like, oh, well, if I did go at NXT UK, I would have been working through the pandemic. He's still going to England and stuff like that, like, because I would have saw the other Irish wrestlers still going. So that always was the case for me of being like, do I regret not going there? And then sometimes I think, like, I see Aoife Valkyrie off now in NXT, and I'm like, we both got offered at the same time. Like, I'm like, oh, if I did say yeah, would I be there now instead of here? But then I guess it's just hard to know, because you just never know what way it could have gone.
Yeah, you don't even know that, like, if you were there, like, still now, you may not even be Session Moth.
Would I have been fired? Would I have been fired with everybody else? Would I have been fired before? You know what I mean? Like,
or like you may not have even been Session Moth anymore. Yeah.
Well, that was, like, I mean, that was the main reason why I didn't go there in the first place. But, like, you know, you never know. Like, even now I'm like, oh, well, Ring of Honor never came back. Nothing ever happened with that, so it was a mistake the whole time. But I guess you just have to have faith that it wasn't.
Yeah.
And that it'll fly around, you know what I mean?
No,
but that would be one thing that I think I've struggled with over the last 2 years, is always that what if. And I don't want to be in that position again. So I just want to make sure whatever happens this year, if anything happens, I really think it through and I visualise myself. Will I be happy living that life? Like,
yeah, for sure. No, I get that. I like that. I love that. The next one is my favourite animal.
Dogs.
Yeah?
Dogs or wolves. I love wolves.
Nice. Yeah. What about she-wolves?
She-wolves, not so nice. Not the biggest fan of she-wolves.
No. Love that, though. Good choices. The next one's a two-parter, because it's my favourite match ever, and I'm going to ask for one you've had and one you've watched.
I hate this question. I hate it. I don't know what my favourite match that I've watched is. There's so many. The one that always comes to mind when I get asked this question, though, because it's always one that, you know, you remember it, it like hitting you a different way, was obviously Sasha and Bayley from TakeOver years ago. That just was, to me, was like, that was the revolution of women's wrestling. That was like women taking it up a notch, and that was setting the bar, and it's never gotten lower again since that. Yeah. It's only gotten higher since that. So that, for me, would always be... I remember sitting in my job at the Courier, watching it and being blown away. And, you know, it's the most inspiring thing I've ever seen. So that, and my favourite match, I mean, I've had millions. I love so many matches. It's impossible to pick one. I love my match with Crowley for the fact that it was so original and so different, and I'd never done anything like it before. I've loved matches with Sami Zayn because she brings out the best of me wrestling-wise. I love matches. Honestly, nearly every match I've had this year last year at OTT, I've left feeling... I have a special little highlight video of all my OTT matches from last year, and I was extremely proud of them. Like, there was two in particular. It was me, Danny Cross, and Speedball. And I remember I was so nervous, and Speedball, it was up to the level of having a Speedball level match. And bless them, like, I love when this happens, like, they forget that you're not as good of a wrestler as they are. But this is why it's always been a triple threat or anything. I don't necessarily think I'd be able to handle a singles with these people, but like the fact that I can handle my own in a triple threat, and we had a really good 5-way as well with Doris, Ojmo, Jay again, and Lorenzo in it as well, and it was really good, like really good. And just I'm very proud of myself of keeping up to that, the high level of the likes of Ojmo, the likes of Will Ospreay, the likes of Speedball. Being in the ring with these people, Mark Haskins, I've had singles matches with him, being in the matches with them and them having the quality matches that they have and bringing me up to that level, it's just something that I never thought I could do, and it's something I still can't do on my own without their help. But they made me a better wrestler because of that.
No, that's cool. I love that. Final couple. The next one is my favourite place in the world.
Japan, probably.
Yeah.
Favorite place to go. I really like it's a second home in a way, because I felt like the 3 times I was there, I really got settled. I feel like it might be very different now if I was to go back, so I'm not sure if I want to go back.
Right. I was going to ask, is that something that like?
I feel like, again, I just want to see what happens, whether it's a new direction or go back to Stardom, or I'll wait and see. But yeah, Japan always felt like a certain level of home, especially because I like the last tour I was there, it was me and Jamie Hayter, and the best tour of our lives. So.
Love it. And then the final one is well, apart from Japan, what is your dream holiday destination?
I really want to go to Iceland.
Yeah?
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
I have that in the books for this year. I really want to go see the Northern Lights and all that kind of stuff, but I'd also really love to go somewhere like India. I'm getting really into my whole like spiritual practices and stuff like that, so I'm very much thinking about doing some sort of meditation week or something like that.
Love that.
Next year or so.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And then you bring Session Moth out in the evening.
For Karen. That's something for Karen to refresh Session Moth so she can go off and party again.
Yeah, no, exactly. Then you bring Session Moth out in the evenings, right? You don't take her with you to that.
Yeah, Karen does the meditation during the day and goes for the walks, just so Session Moth can rid herself of her demons and have a wild time.
And she thanks you for it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure she does.
Love it. Well, Session Moth Martina, thank you so much for coming on the Grapple Theory podcast. It's been a blast having you on. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for having me. My first interview in years.
Well, it's been an honour to have you here. And we always end each show by giving our guest a final bit of promo time. So, no matter what you've got in store for the next 12 months, whether it's in the UK, whether it's at TNT or Progress or Eve, or over in OTT, or in America, or maybe Japan, or anywhere else in the world, wherever Session Moth ends up, why is Session Moth going to steal the show if people come and see her?
Because I'm drunk. And I'm like nothing you've ever fucking seen before. That's it. I'm like nothing you've ever seen before. You'll never ever get another Session Moth in your life.